morning. Greetings to the fourth estate. Always a pleasure touching base with you. It's been some time since we have had a press conference. I want to start by a housekeeping issue. On my left is my acting director, Farai Marapira.
Yes, sir.
He has joined my team. You know that my substantive director, Comrade Mgwadi, is busy slugging it out for his seat. Just like his boss is also slugging it out for his seat. He is an MP, he has to be in his constituents. And I'm happy to say the party, the president has given me somebody who will try to fill in the gap. I expect that he will work well with you, as has always been the case with our department, but more important, that you give him all the necessary support which you have always given to my department. Administrative issues, some guidelines, the tidbits on how things should be done and not be done. He will really appreciate whatever you can, and he will give you his best. He means well, and I also know you mean well for him. Don't try to upend him because he's new. So that's Farai. He will be giving you his number so that you can be in touch with him on any issues.
Here are the phone numbers from your Google account.
Okay, so that's one housekeeping issue. Then there's another item which I want to raise. We are in the season of heroes, and the cabinet decided to confer various medals to our war veterans from the liberation struggle, and this will be happening during the heroes ceremony. It's an important event for us because it reminds us where we come from as a party. And when you see the ethos and the practice of ZANU PF and you compare it with Triple C, you can appreciate why it is important to have a history and to have a background. We come a long way, 6 decades of existence. We have scaled every challenge which the Zimbabwe people have offered us. From freedom struggle to the armed defeat of the Smith regime, to giving us independence, to consolidate that independence, to defy sanctions, to recover our resources, to defy our sanctions against us, to the point where today we think that those who sanctioned us are now sanctioning themselves. The sanctioneers are becoming the sanctioned. These are epic victories which ZANU PF has scored over the last 6 decades. We have a compact with the people of Zimbabwe. We will deliver on their prospects of prosperity, and we will leave no stone unturned to make sure that we get there. And with our new president, since the advent of the Second Republic, the task is that much easier, because the vision which he had as a young man to become a pioneer recruit of a fledgling National Liberation Army, which didn't exist, and to put his faith in Africa, even when the OAU had not yet been formally formed in Addis Ababa, say Africa will help us. And then to take the risk of going abroad, even overseas to China, to be trained as a pioneer guerrilla by the Chinese in people's warfare. That denotes vision on his part. It denotes a dedication to the people of Zimbabwe, which we are happy to tap on now that he has survived more than six decades. It has only survived from that original core of the people who are now what you call the Zimbabwe Defense Forces today, when it was in its formation. So this is the hallmark of this election, deliverables and deliverables to the people of Zimbabwe. So our work is our manifesto. Our work is our manifesto. We don't need to write in expectation of what we can do anymore, because we are actually walking the talk on development. And since it is Heroes Month, I've got the happy announcement to you that I've just received this book. It's called The Day Salisbury Fuel Tanks Were Set Ablaze, December 11, 1978. This is a book written by the comrades who actually took part in the attack of the Salisbury tanks in 1978. One of them is, I think, one or two of them are in Canada. He came back, he has been living in Canada. He's a survivor. The others did not, well, they were later hunted down, including Comrade Norest, who trained with me in Yugoslavia in 1977, a year before, a few months before they were deployed by the late Comrade Perence Shiri under the instruction of General Tongogare to take the guerrilla warfare from the countryside right into the heart of the racist Rhodesian capital, Salisbury. They came from Bari. I was born in Bari, so it was easier when we went at war, when the war to relate to each other, because we were from the urban areas. We knew the psychology of the enemy because we were living in urban areas, and they were recruited specifically for their knowledge of what was then Salisbury and Bari. So I knew some of them. One of them is my cousin, my brother cousin, but he didn't make it back home. He was part of the unit which was trained by the late General Perence Shiri, the commando unit, and Comrade Tungamirai. So this book has just been published. I will give you a chance to have a look. I don't know how much of it is available in the country, but this copy came from Canada. And it's a good thing. We need more of the war veterans to write about their stories, about how they fought the war. I always remind people that the Bible, which we use today, was written 30 to 40 years after the death of Jesus Christ. But the book still holds so much for those who believe in Christianity. So we are not yet late. Some of us are still alive, and I'm happy that these ones have taken the task to put pen to paper, that posterity can read the sacrifices and the dedication and the tribulations which we faced to free this country, and remind us as we go to the vote that this country did not come on a platter. I always say that out of every 5 people who went to war, probably only 2 came back alive. 3 died. So, and at least now people can read about that experience, and for the young generation, they can relate to where the Zimbabwe Defense Forces come from, where our independence comes from. I mean, there are other people who may want to dispute, they want to revive petty grudges, which we have much addressed. That is, was it ZIPRA or was it ZANU? That is not the issue for us, In any event, if somebody has got a different version, it's a free country. Write your book. Then we hear also of then you leave it to the reader to see who has the veracity, whose story is true, and whose story doesn't hold up. But I think it is an effort. I'm saying this because there's always an effort by post-Rhodesians who want to keep trying to revive the petty differences which may have arisen. As we was building up a national liberation movement, there was no template. We were, we're crossing the river by feeling the stones. And you're bound to make a mistake. And sometimes you almost make a mistake where you can sink. There was no template to say it must be done like this. It's not a script of a cricket match which has got rules and regulations, or a soccer match which has got rules. We had to find our way. That's what Tongogara did. That's what JZ did. That's what Chitepo did. They had to grope for the way to make us be what it is. So mistakes were bound to be made. And one of them was to give the world a divided liberation movement. But the beauty about it is that we managed to bring the two armies together, eventually into an alliance, and we fought, and we won, and we are the backbone of the Zimbabwe Defense Forces today. We didn't go the way of the civil war of Angola. So I just want to address those who want to continue to sow divisions. It will never have a bearing on the United Army, which is the Zimbabwe Defense Forces. It also even brought in elements of the Rhodesian Army. And we are the best professional army, experienced on the African continent. I say it with pride, because we come from the battlefield, then we went to school, and that generation of young people, they were the smartest this country could produce. I always remind, if I get a chance, what Father Prosa, who was the principal at St. Augustine's, one of the best school in the country, he was asked by the BBC why the young people were going to war, and being of British stock, he was English. He couldn't say they are going to war because you are oppressing them, because it would have offended the white population and the West. So he, being very smart, he answered, he says, I don't know why they are going to war. The classes, the schools, the classes, the pupils are absconding big numbers. But what I can tell you is that the best and the brightest are the ones who are going to war. Now you can understand why we are what we are today. That's why our party has got organic strength, inner strengths which other parties do not have, the upstarts, because it comes from that pedigree of the best and the brightest, living the opportunity of life, circumscribed though they were those opportunities, and deciding to sacrifice their best and brightest brains to say we are going to create a new Zimbabwe. That's where we come from, and it is on that score that we are riding this election. I'll give you the ISBN number of this book. Maybe it is available now. I don't know whether, but it's one of the early copies. I just wanted to dwell on that. This is Heroes Month, August, coming from some of the West massacres which happened during the war. Nyadzonia in particular, it happened in August. And we just want maybe the books like this, but also tales from those who may have been involved in the war, to remind of the young generation of what we went through to be an independent country. We are in campaign mode. You have seen what our president is doing. He has had 5 major rallies. The first one was in Manicaland, but it's not a provincial rally. It was in recognition of yet another hero who had been left by the wayside for a long time, the founder of ZANU, Stole. The turnout was impressive at Mutema in Chipinge, and there was really an appreciation by the people that this illustrious leader of the early nationalists, Reverend Abaning Stole, he has been conferred with his deserved national hero status. Afterwards, the president went to Matebeleland South, which is the home of many of our heroes, from the Zipra side, in particular, Zapu Zipra side, including the late Vice President, the founder of Zimbabwean nationalism, Comrade Joshua Mkabuko Ngomo. The attendance was massive. Then from there, he proceeded to another place where there are heroes of the second Chimrenga, which is Marsh West. This time the special honor was on Chikerema, but it also, you remember, it is also the home of the first president of the Republic of Zimbabwe, Robert Mugabe. The attendance was massive at Magunje there. Then afterwards he went to Masvingo, which is the home of another hero, another crop of heroes, Comrade Takawira, Comrade Mzenda. And I must say it was, the place was overflowing, the whole town was overflowing with the membership of the party who have come to listen to their president. And then the last one was, of course, in Mashonaland Central, which is the province where Chitepo, our chairman, and Tongogara, our military genius, implanted a permanent presence of a guerrilla army on Zimbabwean soil. That's what makes Mashonaland Central different. Before there had been sporadic attacks of hit and run, people retreating back to Zambia, or even attempting positional warfare, which would not have favored the guerrillas because they didn't have supply lines which were secure, unlike the Rhodesian army. This experience of ZIPRA and the ANC in Chipuriro, Guruwe area in 1968-69 showed the folly of trying to prosecute positional warfare against a conventional army like the Rhodesian army supported by South Africa, a conventional army supported by NATO. They were defeated. But Chitepo and Tongogara, through the help of Frelimo in Mozambique, took a different turn and decided on the people's warfare. People are fish. Guerrillas are fish and the people are water. That was a Maoist, Chairman Mao from China fought that way against, it's called asymmetrical warfare. And they implanted the guerrilla army in the Northeast in 1971, and the war never stopped. So it was a special honor to the heroes of March Central, and you will call they vote 100% ZANU PF Kumshakwe Wondo. We were very happy with the attendance. Again, these are huge crowds turning out to hear the president speak about what he has done. And so the next venue, I'm not sure where it is now, but
on Sunday.
It will be
In Kai on Sunday.
Yeah, it will be in Kai on Sunday. We are going to the Smart North.
Yes, Smart North.
Yeah, we are taking rallies not to the usual senders. We are taking rallies to the communities, so that we also make people feel that they are part of the celebrations, they are part of the identification of Zimbabwe as a nation. So we are not going to the usual major centers. We are going to different, more remote or bypassed areas so that people can feel that they are part of the inclusivity which the president talks about. You also remember that we had our independence celebrations not in Harare or Bulawayo this time, but in Mount Darwin. So this is the same thing. The president is saying no place should be left behind and no one should be left behind. We are getting impressive support from our membership. You will recall that we had a 5 million voter drive, 5 million voter registration drive. And then the president gave an amnesty to all those, financial amnesty to all those without money to get national ID cards. And this enabled Zimbabweans who may not have held cards to become registered. It's important for the population census. You know, you can't put money before knowing the numbers of the people who you are, because you can't plan an economy properly if you don't have the correct figures about your population. So the amnesty for the financial, to offer financial free registration of national IDs was a good thing. One, from population census, but also for the government to know. But it has also paid off handsomely, because when it came to voter registration, we have a very high voter turnout, at registration level. We have many people who had never been on the vote now included. We expected 5 million, we have beaten the figure to 6 million. So our slogan, which used to be 2023, 5 million votes, we did it 5 times. Now we are doing it 6 times, because there are 6 million votes. We are expecting to harvest a good proportion of those 6 million votes. And the figures and the numbers which are turning out at our rallies, they reflect an enthusiasm unparalleled before. And by the way, we not only use this drone to assess the crowds, but the president has also been very generous with regalia. So we actually count the number of people who are coming by the number of caps the number of jackets, the number of wrappers which we give. They give us an accurate figure as to who has turned up for our rally. Some people are trying to say we bus people. These are big distances. I don't think they expect people to walk to come to a rally. Otherwise the president would spend 3 days waiting for them to come walking, to come and see them. So we provide, yes, we do provide transport, but we don't force people to go into a bus. There's not been anybody who has gone to the police station to complain that ZANU PF has come and forced me to get into a bus. They get into the buses enthusiastically. But more than that, they provide their own transport to wherever they can. They don't, even the buses are not enough. I went to Urungwe there. Everybody turned up. They had trucks from all over. They'd paid for the diesel. And I said, why are you? They said, Ambassador, I'm the candidate for Marshall. You know what they said? They said, Ambassador, this is the tobacco growing season. We produce most of the tobacco in this country. A good portion of the $800 million which came from the auction floors is here in Urungu, in our pockets. How can we not fail to come to your rally because your party is doing such good things to them? So it's not only buses which are provided by the party. It's also the enthusiasm of the membership. They provide their own transport. Nobody wants to be left to a ZANU PF rally, because the president is doing things which is changing the people's lives at grassroots level, day to day. People can attach their hope of a better life to the performance of the president. That's why people are turning up to our rallies. This is also a reflection of organization. I talked to you about Father Prosa, but I also always remind people that you don't win a war against the modern imperial army of Britain, which was the Rhodesian army. That was a cat's paw of the British army. They are the best army. Ask Putin, the fight which is going on. The Brits, they have been fighting wars for ages. So they know war, the British. And the only African country which took them on in a modern war is Zimbabwe, and we won. This underscores the fact that we had to raise our organizational level to a commensurate and then surpassing level to that of the Rhodesian army. So ZANU PF is an organic DNA of organic organization. It's within our blood. We organize things. That's why when we come to elections, like this time, all our leadership is united. Our vice presidents are campaigning in support of the president, in unison with the president, because we are a united party. This is also what's happening at MP level. It's happening at councillor level. We move together as one solid mass, organically pushing the agenda of getting the maximum votes come 23 August. This is in dire contrast to the other party. The day when they go to congresses, every one of their top leadership expects to come out as a president of that congress. And each one who loses becomes a splinter party. Now we can't even see Beat campaigning together with Chamisa because he is miffed, he is angry. We can't see Welshmen campaigning together with the Chamisa. Now, you see, these are leaders of a party who have their own charisma and following in certain areas where they are. Now, if you leave them out, you go to those areas and you don't expect it, then the crowd doesn't turn up. Don't blame anybody, don't blame ZANU PF. A charity begins at home. Start by showing love and unity amongst yourselves in that party. ZANU PF shows love and unity among the membership. It does not exist in the other party. All that exists is a rat race for power. If you don't win, you start shouting at your opponent. You never can say, I congratulate you for winning in CCC and in MDC. They don't congratulate the winner. They start taking pot shots at the winner because I should have been the one who wins. It does not happen in our party. In our party, somebody loses, he says, congratulations, because we have a bigger cause, which is to save the nation of Zimbabwe. The other people don't have a bigger cause. Their cause is to go to State House. So, you know, if you will lose, then I can't go to State House. Therefore, you are the wrong person. I don't respect you. You even give them the electorate even gives them a chance to win urban areas. They are supposed to administer urban areas. No, they are not interested to administer urban areas even when they are local government. Because I've got one mission in life. Ndofambira chinhu chimwe chete seambulance kuenda ku State House. Can you run Master Mama urban areas so that people can see that you can perform as a mayor of Harare, mayor of Bulawayo, mayor of Mutare, so that you have a track record which then makes people feel that they can vote for you to go to State House? No. As Nabasa, this is too small for me. Running an urban area, I am made for the bigger picture. I am made for the State House. So you ignore everything along the way because your focus is on State House. But the voter does not ignore everything along the way because what you are doing affects him on a day-to-day life. What am I getting to? Watch the urban vote this time. They are making comparisons. I told you about the palpable prosperity of the tobacco farmers in Urungwe. They have their relatives. They also some people from Urungwe who come into town. They go back to Urungwe. They see the difference which ZANU PF is making to the people of Urungwe when they are sharing $800 million in selling from the tobacco auction floors. They see what is happening in Highfields where sewage is not collected, where roads are gutted and potted, where no effort at attracting businessmen to build the industry. So they are beginning to compare what's happening in rural areas where ZANU PF has got a stronghold, the performance of the leadership of ZANU PF in delivering palpable prosperity to the rural population, and then the utter disregard, decay of urban areas after 2 decades of Triple C rule. This time, these elections, there will be a day of reckoning. We expect to win a good number of seats in urban areas, but the most exciting part will be the increase in the voters in urban areas for the ZANU PF vote, and that is a bearing on the election of our president. We are gunning for 70 to 80% win against Triple C and all the other contestants in this coming election. This is what we are getting, Ghana. That's what we are getting, we are aiming at. We want a landslide which is reminiscent of what we did to the puppet UANC Muzorewa Party and Ian Smith in 1980. A landslide which is a wholesome endorsement of the performance of President Idi Mnangagwa in the last 4 or 5 years. And the record is there, the infrastructure rollout, the beautiful roads which are now offering safe driving, even when notwithstanding the increasing number of cars on the roads. There's so much prosperity, everybody's buying a car, but the roads are coping because they are good roads, they are being built everywhere. The investment in mining on a scale unprecedented. We have 5 billionaires, in Zimbabwe now, working on steel, working on lithium, working on, these are the best possible businessmen on the planet. They've been attracted to Zimbabwe by President Mnangagwa. This big investment generally uplifts the country. You will be happy to know that come December 1, we start producing steel at Manise. The date is set. Yeah, December 1, there will be a big ceremony in Chivu, Manise, Mvuma, for the production of pig iron steel for Manise. These are deliveries. And up, you go to Goromonzi, we are exporting lithium concentrate for batteries, to make these, for batteries for these phones, and for the car industry, for the new electric vehicle industry. These are deliverables by the best possible businessmen on earth who have been attracted by the Open for Business mantra of President Mnangagwa. I want to stray into sport. Whoever thought Zimbabwe would be the home of a league of T10 cricket? That billionaire from Dubai has introduced T10 cricket. And the crowds which are going, the excitement about the inclusive nature of cricket, which used to be all white. People are coming from Highfields, from Fakose, from all over, from Kwekwe, to come and watch cricket matches. Best cricket players. Remember, we were banned by cricket from playing cricket by the British when during the height of sanctions. Now we are actually hosting cricket leagues in Zimbabwe. This is how President Mnangagwa has turned the fortunes of this country around. The pariah status, which the West thought they would designate us, is rubbing off because the performance of ZANU PF and President Idi Mnangagwa speaks for itself. Nothing succeeds like success. And when I see the picture of the president, I see success all around him. Everything around him is success. This is what's appealing to the electorate. This is what's appealing to the African leaders who are now inviting him to all sorts of events on the continent. And we are even garnering to become a member of the Security Council. Remember the Security Council of the United Nations? 2008, the British wanted us to be under sanctions, and the Chinese and the Russians vetoed that resolution. We would have been tossed, if the British had been allowed. Now we are actually aspiring, and Africa is supporting Zimbabwe's candidature to become a member of the United Nations Security Council, the top 15 countries responsible for international security. This is how the fortunes of the country are being turned around, whether in diplomacy, whether in economic performance, whether in sport. And we are also happy we are having Dr. Gut declared a national hero. This is food for the country. He is an outstanding clergyman, a man of faith. But you got to remember, when we were defeated, the resistance was only in the mind, spiritual. The formation of the first independent African churches, was the first form of resistance against complete domination after we lost our country in the 1890s. So 100 years he dies, but he has got this impeccable, achievement of actually forming a Christian church which is independent of Europe. The European churches were teaching us to say the Europeans belong. When God is African, the original God is African. The Christianity comes from Africa. It doesn't come from Europe, but Europe appropriated Christianity and made us believe that God is white and is European. These are our heroes who said, no, God is also African. God is also Europe. God is everybody. That's what the Dr. Gutis did, and he was very patriotic. I must honor him at personal level. When we were fighting against sanctions, and I was made the charge in the spearhead of the Lukwist police, he flew all the way to China and gave me grace at the embassy in Beijing, because he liked the fact that we were building relationships which would offset the impact of sanctions from the Western countries, and saw China as a champion which would provide alternative capital. And he felt that effort had to be blessed. And he came to Beijing and he prayed for me, at the embassy. This is the burning patriotism of that churchman. This is what makes Zimbabweans be what we are. And we are happy that the party, the government has seen it fit to make him a national hero. That no matter which field of endeavor in which you are, if it has a bearing on the wholesomeness and holistic nature of Zimbabwe society, it is a good thing. So, well done, ZANU PF, for conferring national hero status to President Mnangagwa, by President Mnangagwa to Dr. Guti. The diplomats, everybody's invitation is out. All the diplomats in Zimbabwe are observers, including the Americans. We are not going to hide anything about this election. It's a festival of democracy by Zimbabweans. We fought for our democracy. We don't owe it to Western strictures. When they were rulers here, they never gave us democracy. So we have a showcase of our democracy, and we are confident about it that we have said the observers can come from anywhere where they want. They are here to observe. They are not here to monitor. Sovereignty cannot be monitored by foreigners. You understand? That's the difference between us and Triple C. You know, the other day, you know, they were trying to say the United Nations must do this. No. Sovereignty cannot be monitored by foreigners. That's why we fought to have an identity. We are happy they are here to observe, only to observe how Zimbabweans go about with their democratic practices. We have lived up to the expectations of SADC. We have also complied with the strictures of the African Union on elections. That is our own constituency. These are our brothers and sisters. We don't hide our pride in being marked by our brothers and sisters, but we definitely took our stance when former Western imperial powers want to teach us about democracy. No, we object. But anyway, this is not a time for recriminations. We are happy that the invitations have been extended to the EU, and they've got their team on the ground. They've already appointed the head of the team. We hope that can come and observe and not try to monitor what we are trying to do. The good thing this time is that the country which was always a problem within the EU, the British, they left under Brexit. So the cantankerous British, maybe this time they won't be able to influence things in a negative way. But I know the vibes from London are also very good. They once cantankerous, they are no longer cantankerous. Now they are on side. We have President made sure that we reach out to everybody, no enemy to none and friend to all. So the vibes also even coming from London, they are good. We hope that everybody will be happy with our elections. We are also happy with the preparations with the ZRP. They are determined to make sure that there is peace before, during voting, and after the vote. Remember in 2018, everything went well. Then trouble causers came after the vote to upend what had been a very clean election. This time the police is well prepared, it's well trained, and it's well also resourced, because we don't want recourse to the army because the police is not well prepared. We want those who are responsible for law and order in the country to be up to scratch. So this is also serves as a warning to troublemakers that this time, if the police is well prepared, they will deal with law and order infractions mercilessly against those who want to besmirch this election, and we are happy. There are complaints always from the MDC, the police, the Triple C, the police have done this, the police have done this. Look, they phone me. With ZANU PF does not run the police. It's run by the government of Zimbabwe. If there are infractions which are going on in law of a law and order nature, the best place is to report is to the police. To go and make a report to the press, you pressmen have no arresting powers for people who are trouble causers. To report to the press does not serve the cause of the Triple C. The people who deal with law and order issues are the police. So rather than phoning you or phoning me, they should go and tell their people to report to the police station so that the police can carry out their work, documented, and then if necessary, the matters can be taken to the judges, who are the people under the statute, under the law of the land, who can deal with it. But grandstanding and looking for publicity does not serve their cause, because all it shows is that they are crybabies. They are looking starkly at the prospect of electoral defeat. They are looking for excuses as to how they can be defeated. You are being defeated because you have no ideology, you have no agenda, you have no performance in 2 decades of your rule. Your record is abysmal, and the electorate has nothing to do with you. That's why you are going to be defeated. But now you want an excuse, and you want an excuse, then you always phone ZANU PF to the press, ZANU PF to the press. Read your constitution. You were part of writing the 2013 constitution. The constitution says the police are responsible for law and order, and through the police, the judges get involved. So I appeal sincerely and advise in all earnest the CCC that if they've got issues with with law and order and on the ground, they go to the police. And they need to have their PR with the police be good, because the police is the statutory body of the Constitution of Zimbabwe. You can't have bad relations with the police. You have to try to have good relations with the police, because that is your port of call when things do not go well. Why is it that they don't complain about being thieved at night, being robbed at night, because they are CCC? They don't complain about being all sorts of malfeasance during the day from the same police. They only want to complain about the police, about the election, about politics. How can the same police be good for all these other tasks and not be good for the politics? Yeah? When we have peace and order in this country, Chamisa can go about without anybody molesting him as a free man, protected by the police of Zimbabwe throughout 365 days. He's well protected. Only when it comes to political issues, then he starts saying the police are evil. You can. It's not a cafeteria where you pick what you want. This is a la carte menu. The police are good all the way through. If they are good here, they must be good there. Don't try to pick them here and drop them there, pick them here and drop them there. It's a la carte. Take the police as they are. And if they don't have PR, it's not our job as ZANU PF to do PR for CCC. And it's also not our job to do bookings for them with the police. If they fail to book properly with the police and their rallies are dismissed, they can't blame ZANU PF. We don't run ZANU PF from the police from ZANU PF headquarters. They are run from their professional organization, PGHQ, under the executive wing of the Zimbabwe government. They are not run from the party headquarters. So this attempt to cast aspersions of collusion between ZANU PF and the police, we dismiss it with all the contempt. The police are professional and they do their job well. Performance of CCC, dismal. You saw their rally in Beitbridge. It's expected that if people in Beitbridge have got a spanking new Beitbridge border post, which is the best in Africa, and they know that it has come from President Mnangagwa, and they can see the modernization of Beitbridge, they attach that kind of feel-good factor about the Beitbridge post to the person and the party and the government which has delivered the goods. There's no way in all the CCC run mayorships, anything which is compared to what has been done at Beitbridge. Havana, chekuratidza kungoti watakanga tichitonga for 2 decades. Zero, zilch. Have you ever seen a new hall built by the CCC in 2 decades of running urban areas? A wall, a school, nothing, zero, zilch. Hapana kana chakakamboita kana one. So you expect people to turn up for your rallies. You have nothing to do with their welfare. You have nothing. You have, I'm talking of business people who are coming here. Chamisa, have you ever seen him with a businessman? The only person whom you see is a sanctioned championing American. Then in this picture that I'm under the tutelage of America. Now the problem with America, it's coming up. It's becoming evident. Havana mari yekuisa muAfrica. So they are teaching Africans about religion, about democracy, about gay rights. I mean, LBGT, this is what the Americans are teaching. They are teaching this to a young child at school, under 7 years. LBG, Jakuti rights. I mean, what has that got to do with the children at school? They don't even know, they are not even at the age of consent, but they are teaching them. America is trying to teach the world how to behave. In contrast, the other powers, the upcoming powers that giving solid investments to change people's lives in Africa. The Chinese, they build roads, they build airports, they build power stations. The Indians, they invest in Pepsi, Varun. This is what is the contrast. So America, it calls for a conference of businessmen in Africa and Botswana. Botswana insists that the Zimbabwean president must attend. The American government denies its business opportunity, the opportunity to interact with our president. He only has to address, then they move out. Who is the loser? It is them who are losing. Now, China's trade with Africa, 254 billion, America's 160. Despite all the historical engagement with America in the past, China has streaked past. It has moved like a Porsche ahead of America, but a Porsche which is a 30-ton lorry at the speed of a 30-ton lorry, because America does not want to respect African leaders. It expected regime change in Zimbabwe. Therefore, if you want regime change, you tell your businessmen, don't interact with the Zimbabwe leadership because we are going to remove them from power. The Indians and the Chinese, they respect African leaders who are in power. So they say, can we do business? And African leaders say, yes, I'll give you a license. I'll give you a concession. I'll give you a right. I'll give you an incentive. They deal with the person in charge of the country at that particular time. So investment flows. In America, it stops because they are expecting to remove the government of that particular country. Who has ended up the loser now? American business people. Because they are waiting for the day their government will remove African government. America does not respect governments or African governments who are in power. So by the same token, it disempowers its business people from interacting with African business people. Because they are saying the governments are not stable because they will be removed by American might. In contrast, the new powers, they respect African governments which are in power. So we are going to Russia. The president left last night, Africa Summit. President Ramaphosa is there, and there are a number of African leaders. Despite American efforts to discourage them to go from Russia, they are there because we are treated with respect. In America, we are not treated. America doesn't treat African leaders with respect. So who is the loser? Because African resources are there. African governments are there to stay. They are getting stronger all the time. And Africa's population is young and dynamic. Africa is going to be the continent of the future. So we will interact with those who respect us, and we expect investment from those. We also expect big markets. By the way, the BRICS summit is coming to South Africa. America has been doing everything to try to make it not succeed. But this is a big market, 1.2 billion Indians, 1.3 billion middle-class Chinese. We have 400,000 Indonesians. We have 80 million Turks. We have another 90 million Iranians. We have Pakistan. These are huge markets. Remember, the land mass which connects Africa, Europe, and Asia has always been the home of civilization for 5,000 years. And this is where most of humanity lives. So we are contiguous, we are neighbors. We are focusing on that market. The other one, this one across the Atlantic, it's a new one. It only comes in the last 500 years after making sure that the Red Indians are exterminated. So it's not a traditional. Of course, they've done well. It's a big market, in the last, but it can't be forever. The pendulum is swinging in the other direction as roads are built, as railways are built, as airports are built. You no longer need the sea like we used to do during the days of Vasco da Gama to trade. So the Atlantic seaboard no longer is as important as it was for commercial trade as the land routes which linked the camels, the donkeys, and the mules for 5,000 years. The mules are now roads. The airports have now, they become camels, and the railway lines are oxen, linking Asia and Europe and America. So we are focusing on that market. That's why we are in St. Petersburg. That's why we were the Iranian president here recently. We know the importance of the new middle class which is coming out of Asia. It's more numerous, and it has always been historically attached to this country because we traded through the Indian Ocean. So our president's economic policies are focusing on these new markets rather than continue to dwell on the old markets which are sulking because of the loss of colonial preponderance against Africa. So that's our diplomacy, and that is the diplomacy which is making our economic life change. That's why we have new power stations, adding 1,000 megawatts of power and doing away with load shedding. This is the record of achievement by our president in 5 years. 1,000 megawatts, Wange Kariba South, Wange 7, Wange 8, and more are coming. When you have power, you have everything. These are the deliverables which the president is selling to the Zimbabwean public. You may want to know, we are going to have a new port north of Beira. Just yesterday, I was with the team, which has started building the docks about 60 kilometers north of Beira, which will be linked to Manize to export iron ore. Expected the load 4 million tons. We are carrying 2 million tons now by railways. Just one company alone, Tsingshan, is going to add 4 million tons. You can see the implications on the logistics. You know, the investment in logistics, which this means, the movement of 4 million tons. This is world-class investment drive in the age of capital by President E.D. Mnangagwa. He is taking the resources of Zimbabwe, which are world-class, to competent world-class investors. And he is leveraging the most educated human resource index on the African continent, the Zimbabwean brain. We put so much money. I told you ZANU PF is organized. We put so much money in education. The conversion of education to skills in Zimbabwe is the best on the African continent. Because we are, you know, from education it's easy to jump to skills. So if you are an investor, you want your money to make profits as quickly as possible, come to Zimbabwe. The mines here, they work very quickly. In a very short period of time, your investment is profit. So we expect a high growth economy. That's why even when the president is busy with elections, he is not ignoring the attraction and investment promotion. He is busy on that. That's why he's in Moscow. That's why he's, you know, be having all these visits. We want, and you know who was the last visitor here? Mr. Branson, that British businessman. He used to be associated with what were called elders. They would come here with Kofi Annan the late and try to change the government. Now he comes to Zimbabwe to scout for opportunities under the cover, of course, of our good tourist products. That's a good thing, Mr. Branson. Welcome to Zimbabwe. Don't dangle in politics anymore of regime change. Look at what this exciting opportunity President Mnangagwa is offering you. And that's exactly what he did. He was excited about being in Zimbabwe. It means those who were opposed to us as business people are now coming to our side because they see the prospect of making money under the Second Republic of President Mnangagwa. So this wholesome picture is what is the ZANU PF about. It is what the Second Republic is about. It is what President Mnangagwa is about. We are there to deliver palpable prosperity to the people of Zimbabwe, and that's our selling card to the electorate in 3 to 4 weeks' time. When the election comes, we are going to deliver a landslide victory, and we are going to say bye-bye to the negative politics which has supported CCC and regime change. That's gone, and they don't have the money. The people who used to fund them are the Bransons of this world. I spent almost up to 12 o'clock midnight waiting for CCC candidates to pay. I'm not sure whether it's illegal for them to be still candidates, because if you book a ticket to fly out, then you don't pay and you turn up at the airport, you don't pay. Don't expect to ride the plane because you haven't paid. But they were inside the wall with all their forms, but no money. So I'm not sure whether ZEC did well by allowing them to extend all the way to midnight. But look, that's ZEC and the candidates. ZEC and the candidates, they can sort that one out. But me, I felt like these people were not candidates because you don't have money to come. They call the candidate, you must have the money. You know, you can't place an order and don't pay and then expect delivery. You will not get delivery. Or pay, order and pay. They did not have money to pay. it means that they have been abandoned by those people who used to support them. And one of them, for your information, is George Soros, who is a friend of Branson. Now Branson is here. So, and George Soros has also been removed from the chairmanship of Open Society Institute of Southern Africa. This is the fund which was used to support regime change. And I hope ngono vese, anadumisani mulea, vese wanonyora pa social media. They were paid from the Open Society Institute of Southern Africa, run by George Soros. Now it looks like his son says, Baba Marutambiza Mari, he's no longer chairman, the son took over, and he cut the budget by 50%. So, they want to blame ZANU PF for their lack of funding. It's their problem because they've fallen out with their funders. It's true. They don't have money because the funders have withdrawn. So without money, it's very difficult to run an election. And then you make it worse. You remove all the leadership, which is experienced, which has got capacity. You look for young people without money, and you now want to say they should run a campaign. How can they run a campaign on empty pockets? The party has no money. The membership in my urban areas, you impoverish them because you never created prosperity by building factories and being a friend of businessmen. So businessmen are prospering under President Mnangagwa. Hakuna macheka alikwenda ku Triple C because there's nothing good coming from the businessmen from Triple C, but there's everything good from ZANU PF. So businessmen are not giving them any money. So hakuna mari, poverty, lack of funds is one of the biggest problems for facing that part, and we can't be blamed for that, and we will not raise funds for our opposition. It's not our duty to raise funds for the opposition. Good thing, my last, every time we were getting into elections, because ZANU PF is popular, they created a phantom opposition through inflation. All the prices would go haywire as we go towards the election. So this time, they tried the same game. But the President Mnangagwa, he has been systematic in his fight against inflation. I remind you, in 2013, we called for the legalization of the SME gold sector. Now the president has got the pride to say, SME miners. He has reason to. I saw him in Kwekwe with the ED for miners. I told you about tobacco contributing $800 million of hard currency to our exports. Gold is contributing 2.8 to 3 billion. Gold. Vafana vari kuchera gorid, and gorid yotorwa nendege is being taken to Dubai. US dollars come from America, arrive in Dubai. Before they are even unpegged, they are transshipped into the plane to Harare. If you see $100 notes coming in Zimbabwe, they are all new. The $100 notes. They have not even been opened in Dubai. If you make a mistake, you wipe your cheek, you get bent because it's still hot from the printing press in Europe. Those dollars are not printed by Zimbabwe. They are coming from New York, where the printing press is. But they end up in Zimbabwe because vafana vari kuMakaha, vafana vari kuChakari, vafana vari kuGiant Mine, vafana vari kuGwanda, they are digging gold and becoming rich. And the merchants in Hong Kong, the merchants in New York, the merchants in Shanghai, in Mumbai, in London, everybody is excited about this gold, the gold souk in Dubai. This is what the president has done. This country was built on gold for 800 years. He has restored gold as the shining metal which supports our currency. No more of this US dollar nonsense. And US dollar, number one, US dollar number one. Mashingo is older than the America. America starts in 1779. Mashingo is much older. When they were building Mashingo, what were they trading with? There was no US dollar. They were trading in gold. Now we have a gift Mugano, a Zimbabwean economist here. He tells you that the US dollar is the most important currency. It's like a baby telling the mother that I'm older than you. You can't do that. Your mother is older than you because you are the baby. American currencies, yesterday, gold has been around for 5,000 years, in Zimbabwe. We dig gold here. Everywhere there is gold. So we dig money. In addition to earning exports like tobacco, selling lithium, selling blueberries, we actually dig money from the ground. SMEs. These are the people vari kuita kuti economy yedu ifambe. These are the people who are supporting the currency yedu, strengthening once that's why the Reserve Bank governor is walking with a spring in his legs. He knows that vafana vari kuchera gold. So the most trusted money of ages, the money of gold is supporting Zimbabwe's currency. This is the wisdom of our president, to say we cannot continue to reference our currency based on the currency of another country, America, which is printed by another government, because we are then at the mercy of that particular government. What we have, which is Zimbabwean, which is original, it's gold. And in Zimbabwe, gold is everywhere. Ukaenda murikuwa wakanodaedoeda watowana gold. Ukatora piku kanochera kudai wawana gold. And young people, 3 million of them probably, they are digging gold and making money which is wanted on the on the global stage. Now you go to the Triple C. Hakuna mabasa ari kucreate. Makorokoza. Munoti avanzi makorokoza munoti kucreate. Somebody who is digging money, the most original man hana basa. Saka chaunoti basa chini. Kana uchiti munhu ari kuchera gold, iri kudiwa kuDubai, iri kusupporta currency yenyika. Yadaidzira mamerchants ese all over the world. Omti hamuna kucreate majobs. We have created the most the most lucrative labor opportunity by providing young people the chance to dig gold and supporting them to dig gold and selling it at world prices. The prices which they get is the same as they get anywhere else in the world. This is prosperity which is rooted in the history of Zimbabwe. But all these economists from the Triple C group and post-colonial economists, they can't appreciate that. You know why? Because they are not economists, they are political commissars of the West, positing as ndo vanoti ZANU PF inotaura semapoli, even though unotadza kuona zviri pachena kuti vafana vari kuita mari negoridhe iri kucherwa, iri kutengeswa kuti harisi basa. Amai ako vachikurimira nzungu chaizvo kuti uende kuchikoro kuti havasi kuita basa, iwe wototengerwa Tommy bhutsi kuti usarohwe nechando, kuti amai vangu havasi kuita basa paruzevha vachikurimira vachisakurwa nzungu. Havafana vari kutoita mashura, iwe kuti hazvina nebasa. It is a bearing on your welfare, on the economy of the country, on the strength of the currency of the country. It is making Zimbabwe, free from American sanctions, because we don't need to worry anymore. Because my US dollars are America in Zimbabwe, kwete ku Dubai, when they are swiped. Because America, Zimbabwe say, gold, we didn't get them for free. We bought them using gold. This is what the president has done. And that trend is going to continue. We are going to make sure, the president has promised those young people that we will do everything this country can to support young people digging gold. We want to jump from 35 tons to 100 tons of gold. That we dig money in Zimbabwe, which is a virtue which not many other countries have. Because Mwaraka tipa gold yacho. Don't forget this. This is the wisdom of ZANU PF. This is the vision of our president. But it can't be appreciated in Chamisa because gold, they're British. Nobody's why. How somebody in America and in London can be the owners of gold? Irikumakaha, Zimbabwe. Wakatakura gold, in the 1890s. So we are authentic. We love our country. So this is the message of ZANU PF as we go to the elections come 2023. And it's resonating with the electorate, and it is responsible for the huge turnouts at our rallies. Manzwak. I think I tried to explain the context in which we are going to win this election. Thank you, our PC, Comrade Bima, for the wonderful work which is done. And salute to the energy of our president, a sprightly 8 years old of energetic campaigning to make sure that we rob home come 23 August elections. I thank you. Any questions? I'm ready. We had a full house in Joburg, South African investors. Madam Changwa went there with Minister Chitando. Full house. There's nothing as good as being voted for by your neighbor in terms of business. They took long to appreciate what is going on, South Africans. But believe you me, after elections, they will come in big numbers because the story which is coming out of Zimbabwe is good. So, Nyaya Kunzima permit holders, it's no longer an issue for it. First, those who had canvassed for permit holders to be revoked, they believed that the diaspora was against the ZANU PF. So, tukawanyima permits to force kuenda kumusha kunovota. They will reduce the majority of ZANU PF. Now it turns out because of the prosperity which Zimbabwe is enjoying, they discovered if they were to devote them with the permits, those permits, they may not support Triple C. So there was no purpose anymore to deny them my permits. So they went to the courts and reversed it. Because the political capital which was expected out of turning Zimbabweans en masse out of South Africa turned to be a mirage. It was not true. A lot of the diaspora actually supports ZANU PF. It's only a matter of logistics. If we're going to put voting booths in South Africa or in England, ZANU PF would carry the majority more than the Triple C because their message has lost relevance because of the prosperity which the president is giving. Vanhu vari kunze vakunakidzwa nekuita identify neZANU PF na president because zviri kunaka kumusha is delivering prosperity because that's what we fought for. That's what I was talking about. We fought for prosperity. It's delivering on it. So even the diaspora is happy, and also the returning white diaspora. Vazara varungu. I will say you go to Borodale on Saturday, you will be like in North London. Varungu vazara, they are Zimbabwean citizens who have come back home. This is the good feel-good factor around the President Mnangagwa's Second Republic and the way he is shepherding the Zimbabwean economy across the board in every direction. Currency, investments, farming, tourism, airports, everything. It's a wholesome cake. Apana kana that the a la carte. He's doing it a la carte. Apana cafeteria. And the other parties, zero. Ana Chamisa. Apana, vese anongonyeba pane zvisipo anongotaura. Maspaghetti roads taanawo tikuisa pambudzi. Iye achirungotaura zvake zvemumusoro make. Wamboita Harare here kuti ite izvo zvaana. Dawagona Harare taizokuti pamungaende ku State House. Thank you so much. Questions? Ask anything. I told you we have called observers in an open manner because we have nothing to hide. You also should have no question. Don't balk. Don't go away with any question. Which funga kuti pamwe tinoteta. Isusu takashama kudaiwo vanhu veZANU PF because we want the electorate to read us properly so that they can confidently put their X on our vote, on our candidates. The voting is secret. You have to have a compact with the voter, and you can only do it by being open to the voter. So you are the dimizvema avatars kuma voters. Taurai muti kana paine zvimwe zvamunotifungira kuti bvunzeiwo tirataurira tinyatsoche. We want clarity to the voters. Oh yes, there is a question. I see. Yes, Stafford. You see, before, when there was a lack of vision, particularly in the First Republic, it was probably okay to have a manifesto in the 1980s. But now, with the First Republic, a lot of manifestos were published, but there was no vision to deliver them. Now, with the Second Republic, our work is our manifesto. We are daily publishing what we are doing. At each rally now, there is a pamphlet of the projects which have been carried out in that particular province by the government, by the party through the government, by the party through our leader, President Mnangagwa. So we have a performance register. We are happier talking about a performance register because we want to psych the mind of Zimbabweans about concrete achievements rather than promises which in the past never used to be fulfilled. So I think we are taking a different take this time. We want to win the electorate on the record of our deliverables, economic deliverables, social deliverables. That's what we want. Timbotaura vanhu taita izvi. Muona taita build power stations kuwange. We have opened up Mwangi as an energy base for the country. That's where there's 700 megawatts coming out of there. And there, Mashona and West, Muena Pakariba South, we have provided additional power Pakariba South, 300, 400 megawatts. We want those things. We want this time to focus more on our record of achievement because it builds a confidence in the voter. Promises are good, but they've been deceived before. This time we want to say our record speaks for itself. Another question? Please. I want a question. Don't disappoint me. Can you give me some questions? Musadaru can we do? Thank you. Yes. Vote buying. What, in what format? Because there's no voting booth at a rally. How do you at a rally you address people? What is the specific? I don't want to shortchange you. What are the specific instances? Ukandidaidza kumba kwako iwe uri hurudza wondinyima chikafu kumba kwako zvine mushumo here izvo. Isu we are an organized party. We have the resources. That's why we can do. We are demonstrating our organizational capacity. We are demonstrating our strength, and definitely people come to a rally. They've come. For that particular day, because wanakubika kumba kwao. So we have the capacity. Tochipo and kutivajike. You want to take a vote. So you tell me that a Zimbabwean voter who could sacrifice his life to free his country can be bought his vote can be bought by a piece of chicken. Why don't you respect this voter a little bit more? Munakavira nyika akafa mafira vakaita vaiva womutaura kuti akutengwa nechicken. Amana respect iwo. That's why the CCC cannot relate to the people. You go and trump up that little thing about kuti munhu adya chicken. Wakutomutukira kuti watambirire chicken. Hakuvotere mangwana. Because this person is made of sterner stuff. He has done great things before for this country. He has even fought to die for it. And you now tell him that he can be bought for the price of a chicken in. No, we are just trying to make people not be hungry at our meetings. It's actually hospitality. If you come to my house I can't give you water and I can't give you a drink, I can't give you something to eat. You don't really treat me as a generous person, do you? Would you do that? And dinazo ndokunyima kuti ndaungazoti ukabva pano unoti ndaida kutengwa nechikafu. Chokwadi ungaumba kwamweya unozoda kutengwa nechikafu. Oh, because you like me. And kana ndichikupoa, it's because I like you. This is a demonstration of appreciation of the people who are our members. And we have the means, because we have worked hard as a party to get the means. So we are generally generous, because we have worked hard. We are a hard-working party. We can return the generosity to the people by showing the fruits of our hard work as a party. Zvinomakuti kuita generosity kutenga vanhu. By the way, havapinde mubooth vakabata chicken in, vanenge vakabata ball point. Ndo yavanobvota na, and mubooth anenge ari one. So if you have bought him later ari with the chicken in, akazopinda mubooth ari wega, anongokanganwa zvechicken in yake oifota zvaanoda. How does it affect him kuti akadya chicken in kuti anoda kufuanga? Chokwadi chazvo vana muZimbabwe vanzi vanotengwa nechicken in kunovhotera party. No, respect your electorate. Respect the vote. They are much more serious people than that. That's why they can respond and build a country which is becoming Africa's shining star. Excess food, minerals being exploited, goods made in Zimbabwe for the global market. These are serious people, the 60 million voters of Zimbabwe. They deserve respect. Don't reduce them to the price of a cheap 2-piece chicken in offering. No. We take them much more seriously than that. That's a crime. Ngona zviita izvozvo enda kumapurisa vaende vasunge munhu iye ngaasungwe munhu anoita defense. That's it, because under the electoral law it's a criminal act. It's not encouraged that zvibve pano paZANU PF hatinei nazvo. We don't encourage that. And manzwa ini spokesperson Mpune achitaura kuti angoita defense achiita zvinotyora mitemo yema-electoral act yemaposta sunga. Nga president wedu anoda kuti popa end. That's what the president says. So, so you can see I'm publicly disowning and discouraging that. But for the actual crime, PGHQ, moenda mono reporta vanhu kuti ndo zvavari kuita. Otherwise, kana munozoita we-CCC, cry babies, vari kurohwa, vanoda kuchema kuti hey, tazoitwa zvakati, vasingaende kumapurisa. Ngavaende kumapurisa uko vanoripota. Mapurisa will be more than ready to deal with those issues, because that's a law and order issue and tranquility during the elections. We condemn such kind of behavior as a party, and we encourage that those who are culprits must be reported to the police. Another question? Thank you so much. Now you understand why our currency is getting so strong. Gold, we dig money. The wisdom of the Second Republic and President Mnangagwa to realize that gold is the way Zimbabwe must survive in the modern economy. Azvizikanwa ku-CCC nekumwe kwese. And anamugano avazvizivi. Ma political commissar, they are not economists. I thank you.